Hey, this is the Toxic Reign Scandal. Toxic Reign Scandal featuring TBK, the Turnbuckle King. We are here at it again. We are here to talk about a particular individual here. Someone that is not known for being in the wrestling industry, but he's definitely been involved in the wrestling industry for quite some time over the years. And that certain individual we talking about right now at the locker room. We are definitely talking about him. And him, I'm not talking about Carmelo Hayes. I'm talking about Donald Trump. And we're going to talk a little about Donald Trump. Now, thing about it is, what's crazy, Donald Trump, we here talk about this at the locker room. We talk about the dirty laundry. We talk about everything else of sort. But this name, I make an exception. This name is already dirty laundry enough. Just saying his name is already dirty laundry. So we're going to mention this particular person at WrestleMania, Donald Trump, is definitely dirty laundry. Everything with him. And we're going to talk about when Donald Trump was at WrestleMania and the impact and difference that he made at WrestleMania, because he's been involved in the wrestling business way before he became president of the United States. And I know with the recent incident we know he had a recent incident, but I'm not getting to all that. Locker room don't cover that kind of dirty laundry, but we do cover wrestling-based dirty laundry here. So that's what we do. So you guys go ahead, get the likes up, and see the locker room. Like I said, this name enough is dirty laundry within itself. We are talking about Mr. Donald Trump. He's definitely at one. But let's see who came to the locker room before we begin talking about this certain controversial person. Mr. Goodberry Reaction, salute to you. CeeLo Myers, salute to you. And we're going to get into it, guys. And we're going to talk about all the history of Donald Trump. Now, way before Donald Trump is seen here with which we will get into as well, the WrestleMania 23 hair versus hair match, Battles of the Billionaires back in 2007. What you did not know that Donald Trump, he made a lot of history before that. If you guys know that Donald Trump, did you know that he hosted WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5? And yes, he made an impact there. And what he did was, both of those events of WrestleMania 4 and 5, they were at the Trump Plaza, as you see in this picture right here. And it was at the Atlantic City, New Jersey. And the attendance for that WrestleMania 4 was 19,199. And this was back in 1988, the fourth WrestleMania. So Donald Trump had that much difference on WWE. When then known as WWF. Jason, salute to you. But yeah, he made this impact back then. And WrestleMania 4, it did well, it was very well. It was not a failure, but he was seen at WrestleMania. And not only they did it again for a following year. Now WrestleMania 5, which was the following year in 1989, that was also at the Atlantic City, New Jersey. And it was again for the second year in a row at the Trump Plaza, known as the Boardwalk Hall. That is, attendance was a little bit lower. It was 18,946 people. But he was definitely in attendance. If you could tell, back then, this was a younger Trump with Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant with the WWE Championship. This man had a difference back then. Definitely had a difference. So just want to say, we are definitely doing that. So while we get into it, and also, since we are here at the locker room, I know this name is Dirty Laundry. Please, no political stuff, no political spam. If you do that, just a fair warning. If I see any of that kind, I'm letting you know now. It's going to go down like this.
Bye-bye, bitch.
Fair warning. Mods, keep an eye out for that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Donald Trump was at the following year's WrestleMania 5. And he was shown with celebrities. Hulk Hogan, we all know, was the face of wrestling at that particular time. and then larger than life, certain rest in peace, deceased wrestler Andre the Giant. So he made a difference. He's been around for quite some time. And if you guys didn't know, yes, he is friends with Vince McMahon himself, but he had a big impact over it. And thing about it is, Donald Trump, his friendship with Vince McMahon, it began around the mid to late '80s, and it started with that hosting the WrestleManias. And Trump said it. He said that he teamed up with WWF at the time. He wanted to promote WrestleMania using non-wrestling events such as autograph signings, and he said he's wanted a piece of WrestleMania. He said this in a documentary, The True Story of WrestleMania. He said everybody in the country wanted this event, and we were able to get it. So Donald Trump saw the opportunity of WrestleMania, and he saw that he wanted to be a part of it. And him and Vince McMahon, like I said, been cool since that long. That's crazy about it. But like I said, Donald Trump later on, we wouldn't see him for a long time in wrestling, but it don't even still to this day, we still saw a difference that he made get involved in WrestleMania early on. So we saw the big difference in that. Now, think about it is that was in 1989, the last time we saw Trump at a WrestleMania. Fast forward, we go to 2007 and we go to the Battle of the Billionaires match. We go Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump. If you guys remember this match, now this was at this WrestleMania 23 was in Ford Field in Detroit. It's the same WrestleMania we had John Cena versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship, Batista versus Undertaker for the World Heavyweight Championship. This was a very good WrestleMania. It did. The attendance they said was 80,000, but I heard it was manipulated. It's really 74,287. The tagline was all grown up. And the thing about this WrestleMania is it was unique. Like I said, Trump made an appearance again, but this was actually the main stage rivalry. Go figure, right? So this was the main rivalry, and it was between Vince McMahon and Donald Trump. Now it says on the January 8th episode of Raw, Trump faced off against his real-life rival, Rosie O'Donnell. And then Trump won a contest. All the local wrestlers promoted Trump versus O'Donnell. So they didn't even want Vince McMahon at first, but nonetheless, we still got that. So since we got that, we got this match, and during the McMahon's Fan Appreciation Night on January 29th episode of Raw, Trump interrupted and dropped large sums of money into an arena, if you guys remember that. Then to follow him up, the two came up with a match for WrestleMania with a stipulation for a match where they had to choose a representative to wrestle for each of them, because we know Vince and Donald Trump ain't wrestling each other. Come on now. If you think Donald Trump and Vince McMahon was about to wrestle each other at WrestleMania, you know that's cap.
That's cap. Totally cap.
So anyway, back to what I was saying. And when they did, it was a certain stipulation. And the loser would have his head shaved bald. And this what came with the whole Battle of the Billionaires, because they're both billionaires. And McMahon had picked the late Umaga. If you guys remember this photo, Umaga was right behind Vince McMahon. And Trump, he has since he picked Bobby Lashley. And it says that after successfully defending his ECW World Championship in a hardcore against Hardcore Holly in a steel cage match, it was where the match was surrounded by a cage. Lashley charged at the cage, slammed through it, and landed on top of Umaga at ringside. Now, on the March 5th edition of Monday Night Raw, Stone Cold Steve Austin was appointed the special guest referee for Battle of the Billionaires match at WrestleMania 23. Then later on at the March 26th episode of Raw, McMahon faced off against Lashley in a no DQ match. And it said that many people interfered: Lance Cage, Trevor Murdoch, Chris Masters, Johnny Nitro, and Umaga. And of course, all this interference caused McMahon to get the win. So this was a crazy match, guys. If you guys remember, this was funny because as we can see, Vince McMahon lost the match, Trump won, and Vince McMahon tried to run away, and Donald Trump helped shave Vince McMahon bald. So this is crazy. And like I said, Bobby Lashley won the match. And as we know, after the match, we know that Stone Cold Steve Austin gave Donald Trump a stunner. So it's crazy about that. Very, very crazy about that. But very interesting. Very, very interesting. But it just shows that how much difference that Donald Trump has had. Now later on, this was 2007. I think it was maybe 6 years later. Donald Trump was inducted to 2013 Hall of Fame. If you guys remember that. It's crazy that he's actually in the WWE Hall of Fame. I still can't believe that. I forget about it. I just can't. When they announced it, I said, "This is how I knew the WWE Hall of Fame was spoken and spun like a true politician type of thing." If you know what I mean.
Spoken and spun like a true politician. I mean,
but he was one of the inductees for the 2013 Hall of Fame. That's a little Hall of Fame speech, and he is officially a Hall of Famer for WWE. So he just had a big difference in WWE, whether people want to accept that or not. I mean, and then too, with the back to the Battle of Billionaires match, back to that, it was funny. It was actually funny seeing all this stuff going on. If you guys remember, there was one point in the match where Donald Trump attacked Vince McMahon. If you guys remember that part. So yeah, that was one point during the match, and then it was funny, but they wanted to put on a show. They wanted to make a money-making match, and Vince McMahon and Donald Trump definitely succeeded in that part, and it was the main story. So with that being said, that is a yes moment for the fans. It was entertaining.
yes, 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 yes.
And then another part of the match, of course, after the match, we did see Vince McMahon get that toupee he was wearing. Let's be honest here. We saw it get shaved.
No, my God, no. Donald Trump actually doing the honors himself.
So yes, Vince McMahon got his head shaved after losing a match. Well, Umaga lost the match against Bobby Lashley. But yeah, Donald Trump, he is a very political figure, and he's definitely a figure within the wrestling industry. Like I said, he's been around since 1988, so he's made a difference. Definitely made a difference. He the Trump Plaza hosted 2 WrestleManias, was involved in the main storyline at WrestleMania 23, and later on became a Hall of Famer. Like I said, Donald Trump's been a lot, and this was long before he was elected president of the United States. Way before that, you can see him here. He was at plenty of events. You can see him there. I mean, he was there. Whether you like it or not, Donald Trump was there. He always was there. He made an appearance somewhere within that difference. I mean, the man was even there is even photos of him being interviewed. For goodness sake, he was there for that too. We saw it was Donald Trump, yes, at WrestleMania. Of course, it's a much younger Trump. I think Trump in his 70s now. So yeah, he's always been involved. Always been involved. That's the crazy part about it, guys. Always been involved at all these events, no matter what the case may be. Always been involved. So I know there were people that were within WWE at the time or still with WWE, or just most of them are not with WWE now. I know they spoke on about Donald Trump, so there will be some interviews talking about Donald Trump. I know there's some with Bret the Hitman Hart. He talked about Donald Trump. Jim Ross talked about him, and you guys already know how locker room we do. We are going to pull up the interviews and, of course, have a reaction to that, see what the certain people had to say about Mr. Donald Trump at WrestleMania. There you go. So yeah, let's see what happened here, and we're going to pull up these interviews now. But let's first start off with the good old Jim Ross that talks about Donald Trump. So let's see what he had to say about Donald Trump and his influence at WrestleMania and WWE altogether. So let's get into that right now, and let's see what he had to say.
Money, 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 money.
Like the wording you're using, which is totally correct about being pretty and pretty on paper, and then maybe having a dark cloud over it, is something that I guess people look at differently now. Is the battle of the billionaires with Donald Trump and Vince McMahon, and we're not going to get into the Donald Trump of 2017 because that's not really what we're here to talk about. But in terms of Donald Trump coming in as a celebrity and doing WrestleMania in Detroit, what was that experience like for you, and how do you think he compared to other celebrities who've come in to work with WWE?
Well, it was a special WrestleMania. WrestleMania 23 was the year that Lawler and I were both inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in a class headlined by Dusty Rhodes. Gosh, Nick Bockwinkel was in that class, the Samoans, Mr. Fuji, I think the Sheik. It was a hell of a class when you look back at it.
Mm-hmm.
I am the brown shoes at that formal wedding, so I'm just happy to be tagging along with those guys. But it was a big weekend, another big weekend, another WrestleMania, hotel rooms, this issue, that issue. Somebody needs a hairstylist. Somebody needs their extensions are not connecting. There's all kinds of stuff. Personal issues. Arguments. You got to be the moderator for certain things. Just what it was. It wouldn't change a minute of it, but it was sure as hell a full-time gig, man. So then you have my Hall of Fame induction, night before WrestleMania with Austin inducting me. I was really ready for WrestleMania Sunday so that was my sanctuary. I could escape everything else, all issues, all other ancillary things were cast aside, disconnected when I walked out that curtain and walked to the ring. I was in a whole different world, a whole new place, and I love that place. I still do. So I was happy for that. And look, Trump was, as to my experiences, and I was there for every minute of it, I thought he was as accommodating as any celebrity that we ever utilized. He did things that an untrained guy who probably isn't even a very good athlete would be very reluctant to do, especially on live television.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he took a stunner, no rehearsal. And now it's easy for those critics and wise asses to say, yeah, but man, it was an ugly ass stunner. It sure was. But he took it. North of 50 years old. He might have been north of 60 then. I don't know. But he wasn't no kid. He took Vince down with a clothesline on the outside of the ring. Whole different environment. So if you're a young guy and you're saying, well, let's look at this, that's no big deal, it's an easy bump, I can do that. Well, but you're not him, you're not there, and you're not his age. So I always admired his willingness to go for stuff. And his verbiage, Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon's dialogue to Trump sounds like a little bit like Trump does today as a president of the United States. So it's really interesting how that whole metamorphosis come about, and the influence that Trump's WWE tenure has had on his.
We got 43 people in here. I know you guys better get these likes up. Stop playing. Come on now. Let's get these likes up. Let's get the likes up and let's stop the cap and get the likes up. Come on now.
That's cap. Totally cap.
All right, let's continue on.
Personality, and I think on the presidency. But that's another topic for another day. But he was really very outgoing. He told me, hey, I heard your work, and I really liked. He heard me do his segment, one of the segments, and I put him over. That's what I do. He's the baby face. Vince is the heel. So all we did was embellish what they were and add a little color to it. And he loved it. So, he was good. I know that this will mean nothing to those that listen to this that are follow American politics or American citizens or whatever. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind on anything. This is not about politics. You asked me about Donald Trump being a celebrity guest and how he did, and I'm telling you, he was excellent and up for anything, and which I really admire because I'm not going to mention names, but there have been guys that come there that were very guarded about what they would do or what they wouldn't do and how they'd be presented or perceived or not. Mm-hmm. And I always thought, you guys got to be shitting me. You're coming on a live pro wrestling show and you're worried about how you're going to be perceived? Really? Easy, Shakespeare. Take it easy here.
All right, that's Jim Ross talking about good old JR. He talks about Donald Trump, and he had good things to say about him. He said that Donald Trump did his job, was able to do the work. He wasn't acting too funny like some other celebrity names, pretty much. And he said he was willing to take anything, whether it was Stone Cold Stunner from Stone Cold Steve Austin, like he did at WrestleMania 23, despite his age and condition at that time. So with that being said, I got to give credit to Donald Trump on that one. And there's only one word answer for that, and that is
yes, 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 yes.
So yeah, I like the fact that he did that. So Jim Ross, class act, gave Donald Trump his props. He didn't badmouth me anything, so that was good. Jesse Hood Jr. said Jim Ross a legend, no doubt, one of the best announcers ever in the history of pro wrestling. But yeah, he said good things about Trump. He said that, he know that Jim Ross also doing his job. He started with no rehearsal. He also said too that Jim Ross doing his part by making sure that he put over Donald Trump as the babyface and Vince as the heel in the Battle of the Billionaire storyline, because that was a big storyline, like I said before, lining WrestleMania 23. So that's good that Jim Ross had that to say about good old Donald Trump. So this is crazy. I like what was going on here. And like I said, this was a very memorable WrestleMania and this feud. And it's just crazy to know that Donald Trump had this much influence over it, because I believe when Donald Trump did start at WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5, I will say too that when he got involved, it got the other parts of the country involved. It got the political world and the whole world to make sure that WrestleMania got its respect in its name and make sure that it got its presence all around the world. And that was just back in 1988, and look at it today. Now you got WrestleMania in Las Vegas next year, WrestleMania 41. They even talk of having WrestleMania at some point in another country outside of the United States. And to see where WrestleMania started from, then having Donald Trump involved only at the 4th and 5th WrestleMania in its early years at WrestleMania 23. And then, of course, he a Hall of Famer and appeared at 2008-9 Raw, Monday Night Raw. Man, it came a long way. It's undisputed.
And that is undisputed.
So we got to give props that Donald Trump definitely helped pivot WrestleMania in the right direction. Whether you like Trump or whether you don't like him, when his influence was involved with WWE and WrestleMania, it did help pivot over, and it got more people to take the binoculars and look and zoom right in to WWE. So definitely did that. Let's see who else. What else? Jesse Hood Jr. Welcome to the locker room. You said WWE has never been the same without him and Jerry King Lawler. Yeah, that's true. That's a legendary Attitude Era team. But you got to remember Jesse Hood today. We do have Corey Grace. We still got Michael Cole. You know, we got him. We got those two guys. And we got Pat McAfee. So those are no names to sneeze on. I know people have their reservations about Corey Grace, but Pat McAfee and Michael Cole, those are good announcers, in my opinion, at least the way I see it. Yes, it's not Jerry King Lawler, but you got to realize some guys are up in age now. You know, Jerry King Lawler, he had a heart attack 10 years ago. He recently was sick. You know, Jim Ross been sick time and time again. So, you know, them guys can't announce forever. And them guys getting up in age. So you got to get some new, younger guys to be announcers. And also, neither one of those guys are with WWE currently. You know, Jerry King Lawler recently, I think they did not renew his contract, so he's no longer with WWE. And of course, if people that do follow wrestling, Jim Ross is in AEW, known as All Elite Wrestling. So you said Donald Trump versus Joe Biden steel cage match. That would be funny. I'm thinking about that MTV show, Celebrity Match Show, the Celebrity Match Show. That used to be funny. Stone Cold was on there too. But other than that, though, Donald Trump definitely had a good influence. He did his thing, and I give him his props for it. He definitely he helped out WrestleMania. Definitely helped out WrestleMania in some ways, in shape or form, whatever the case may be. But he definitely did his thing, and his appearance was needed at the time. Now, we don't need Donald Trump, and fast forward to 2024, we don't need him now, but it was great to have him then. He did definitely help get WrestleMania where it needs to be today. But now we got another interview, and this another individual. It's not Jim Ross. It's not an announcer. He's actually another WWE Hall of Famer, similar to Jim Ross, and he is a multiple-time world champion, and he's one of the best ever to do it. The best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. We are talking about the Hitman, Bret Hart. He will talk about Donald Trump on Inside the Ropes. So let's see what good old Hitman had to say.
On 4, you're in the Battle Royal, and there's the Bad News Brown thing, then WrestleMania 5. So WrestleManias 4 and 5, on 4, you're in the Battle Royal, and there's the Bad News Brown thing, then WrestleMania 5, you're in a tag team match against Rhythm and Blues. And WrestleManias 4 and 5 took place at Trump Plaza. And 30 years later, Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America. So we ask you, what are your memories of the Donald Trump WrestleManias? And like, did you have any interactions with him? Do you have any memories of those 2 years? Because it's pretty bonkers when you think about it now.
Well, actually, I remember quite a bit about it. I remember Donald Trump was actually a really big fan of wrestling, and there's one part in that match where that Battle Royal, where Bad News takes me in. I think it's Bad News, but somebody throws me in the turnbuckle frontwards, and I hit the turnbuckle. And when you watch it, you can see Donald Trump just about falls off his chair. And I know that it kind of impressed him. Like I think Donald Trump was enough of a fan that when I took a good front turnbuckle, it stood out in his mind, because I remember meeting him in the back at the end of the show, and he treated me really well. And he came up and suggested we get a picture together, and we got a picture with him. We got a picture of me and Jim the Anvil, and I think my son is in the picture, maybe my dad. And it was just a nice picture. And I remember the next year when I saw Donald Trump again, I didn't think he'd pay any attention to me very much. But I remember he came up and he asked me, he goes, "How'd that picture turn out last year?" And he goes, "Let's get another one." We took another picture. So, I mean, my experience of Donald Trump back then, that he was always a bit of a fan, and I think he had a lot of respect for the wrestlers.
And how were those Trump Plaza WrestleManias? Because that was the first time they'd ever done it back to back.
They were okay. I can't say I was that excited about day, the Battle Royal, I got a phone call from Vince McMahon about a week before WrestleMania that year. And he said, we got more fan mail for you right now than any other wrestler in the company. We can't figure out why. He goes, why you got... He goes, so we're turning you into a good guy. You're going to turn babyface, and we're going to give you a big push. And I remember, like, I didn't want to... I was really happy with my relationship and tag experiences with Jim the Anvil. And I thought we were doing really well at the time. But turning me babyface and making me a big star was certainly, appetizing for me. I mean, I thought, geez, that'd be great. But it never happened. I learned something in that whole experience was that they tell you you're going to give you a big push. A big push is not when you lose to the first guy you wrestle against. I remember I wrestled Bad News, and he beat me everywhere I went, every town, and just, basically annihilated me. And then basically my job was to...
All right, we don't get to Bret complaining all day. I like you, Bret Hart, but you can't be... We don't want to hear that whining. But anyway, Bret Hart spoke on Donald Trump. He talked about how he had a good influence. He said he had respect for wrestlers. He talked about how he watched Bret Hart wrestle. He was happy to see that as a fan. And he even took photos of Bret Hart and Donald Trump more than once. So it seemed like everyone had some good to say about Donald Trump. So we heard two people talk good about Mr. Donald Trump at this point. But that's solid, though. Donald Trump was someone, like I said, Bret Hart was there during the early years of the Trump Plaza. And he also saw how early on that Donald Trump had respect for the wrestlers. And that's amazing. Like I said, Donald Trump has always had some type of influence over the wrestling industry. And we hear it here. We hear from Jim Ross, a WWE Hall of Fame announcer. And then we hear from a wrestler Hall of Famer known Bret Hart. And we do know, we like Bret, but we know Bret be complaining a lot. He be mostly complaining, saying good and bad. So I know some people are feeling like, can't believe Bret Hart said that, though, but he did.
Tell me you did not just say that.
So that's good that Bret Hart has some positive to say about Donald Trump. And it's good to see that he definitely helped out WWE. And it's not forgotten either. That's the thing about it. Definitely not forgotten. It's something that you don't want to forget about. So that's solid to hear. Definitely solid to hear. So that's good. That's good to hear that. And I know that other people have something to say, but we can't have everybody up right now at this particular moment. There's only certain people we do see that speak about this publicly, about Donald Trump, who's at all these WrestleManias. So, like I said, very, very good. And as you see, he recently took a photo with the current United States champion, Logan Paul. So he still has an influence, even though the whole Vince McMahon situation not involved with WWE. He still has influence over wrestlers, whoever you want to call it. He still got that influence. He's here taking a picture with United States Championship with United States Champion. So that proves right there it's definitely an influence he has in the wrestling industry, and he always has been. So that's the crazy part about it. So that's good, though. That's good to hear and good to see. Definitely good to see at all. So that's the interesting part about that. Now we're going to have another interview. And if you guys remember, Shawn Mooney, who's at the early WrestleManias, he was there with Donald Trump in the early years, similar to Bret Hart was. He's going to talk about Donald Trump. Let's see what Shawn Mooney has to say. Get the likes up, guys. Get the likes up.
WrestleMania 5, though, you did get an opportunity on the outside because we were in Trump Plaza for WrestleMania 5, opportunity to interview Donald Trump before he was a former president. He was a celebrity at the time. What is that experience like? Did you have to meet him beforehand? Was this just like you walking up and blindly going, hey, what's going on?
The latter. That's what because wasn't any backstage. He just said he's going to meet you over here and you interview him. And that was one of my first, interviews I did in a pay-per-view, live. And that was one of the worst interviews I've ever done. And I just remember, because I was so nervous, and I like stumbled over his name, my earpiece things like falling out, couldn't hear Gorilla. And but look at that, people send me that picture all the time, want me to sign that picture now. I mean, so you can try to kind of figure that out why they would, but it reminds me of that. And that was something I look back and say, yeah, so you got better.
Right, you gotta start somewhere, right?
Yeah. But those events were so much fun, because there was so many things going on. It wasn't just the pay-per-view. There was that was kind of the first fan fests. So we actually got to go out and meet a lot of these people. And, we did panels with the guys where we'd get them up on a stage, and 5 or 6 of them. And people could ask them questions. And so it was just, kind of making up these things that, you see today are just everybody expects to see. But they were so innovative about how they promoted their products. Vince had some really, really good promotional people around him. Not only the fact that he's a great promoter, I mean, one of the greatest in the world, but he surrounded himself with some people who really knew how to promote a product, and Vince was willing to go for all of it. So, those events were great. And for me, that taught me, that whole period of time taught me so much. I mean, I look back, where else would you get the opportunity to, not only do hours and hours of studio work, like we would go out and do, live interviews in arenas. So you got used to being around these, gigantic crowds. And, there was I did all those videotapes that we would shoot, Alfred and I don't know how many of those I did, the Coliseum home videos.
Yeah.
So this, as a performer, as an announcer, I mean, I got to do every single, facet that would be involved in that. And it has helped me through my world that I've, my career that since, ad-libbing, being able to do that helps me in my job as a news person, like that, all that stuff, that training came from that I would have never had the chance to have done otherwise.
So yes, that's Shawn Mooney talking about Donald Trump. He said it's one of the worst interviews he's done because he didn't know about Donald Trump prior. He was stumbling over his words. Obviously, he's nervous about it. So it's crazy, guys. But this was a good thing of Donald Trump speaking at WrestleMania, being at WrestleMania. Very, very good history there. Like I said, he's seems like everyone likes to have Donald Trump around. They really had nothing bad to say about him. But we got one more person got something to say about Mr. Donald Trump, and it's Bobby Lashley. He did an interview years ago. This is way before he came back to WWE in 2018. This is him talking about a little bit about it. He touched on that, the match, and he was in the match. He wrestled for Donald Trump, so it'll be good to hear what Mr. Bobby Lashley got to say, the almighty Bobby Lashley. So let's see what's going on with that.
Bobby Lashley, and you're watching In Your Head Online.com.
All right, we're back. Welcome to In Your Head Wrestling Radio. I am Jack, along with my right-hand man.
1-inch biceps, the power goat.
Oh, man. And joining us right off the bat, we usually have the guest on 8:30. He's on right at the start. We're joined by former WWE superstar. He's had a lot of titles. Now he's in the MMA world. We got Bobby Lashley on the show. Welcome to In Your Head.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man. I'm down here training and enjoying myself. This whole fight game is a very fun adventure, I think.
You said you're in training now. How different is the training for MMA, compared to when you were training for in pro wrestling or for amateur wrestling?
I think they're all three different, completely different. I think the MMA style is more in your face. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to learn. I think MMA. Well, I think the part that they're similar in is that in professional wrestling, you're always learning. There's always something new to learn, and you always have a different opponent. So you always have a different style, a different match, and everything. And I think that's the same thing that you have with MMA. Like the last guy I fought was a big-time jiu-jitsu guy, so I had to train against a jiu-jitsu guy. This guy's a striker, so I have to start training against the striker now. So there's something different in every match. But as far as training from MMA has been a whirlwind. I mean, I've been down here training in Fort Lauderdale at American Top Team, which is probably the best fighting organization in the world, I believe. So every day, I mean, I'm banging with the best fighters in the world. So it's tough. It's tough. It's not any place for the weak-hearted, the weak-minded person to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you came actually from amateur wrestling to professional wrestling, like, were you a wrestling fan, or did you kind of look down on it? You know, because there are a lot of like amateur wrestlers who, you know, think, oh, you know, it's professional wrestling. You know, that's just silly. What were your thoughts on professional wrestling before you got into it?
No, I was a huge wrestling fan. I was a huge professional wrestling fan. Mm-hmm. When I was little, I used to watch it all the time. There was a little spell in there where I kind of lost contact with it a little bit, and that's when I was training really hard at the Olympic Training Center and through my last years in college. But I still caught a glimpse of it every now and then. Like, I still kept up with Kurt because Kurt was a wrestler, and I kind of followed what he was doing. And then that's when The Rock was big and all that stuff. So I was always a wrestling fan, always a professional wrestling fan. So when I had the opportunity and when I was presented the opportunity, I jumped right into it.
Excellent. Is that a guy you would have wished you got in the ring with, Kurt Angle?
Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
That's one. Kurt Angle, and then another person is just because he's an icon. He's been around the business so long. He's always had great matches, and that's Undertaker. Mm-hmm. And then I guess another person that I really didn't. I did little bits and pieces with in the short time that we were actually together was Triple H. So I guess that's another person that I wish I would have had a little bit more contact with.
Yeah. Well, what is the difference between being in front of a wrestling crowd and being in front of an MMA crowd? Is it the same thing, or is it a different experience?
It's the same crowd. It's the same rowdy crowd. That's why I love it.
Right.
Because a lot of the same people that I see in MMA, they follow professional. They're professional wrestlers also. They go back and forth. These are the people that like entertainment, like more physical entertainment. So it's the same crowd either way.
Mm-hmm. You talked about, I mentioned The Undertaker, and he's seen a lot of times at MMA shows, and he incorporates some of the MMA moves in the wrestling. Do you keep in contact with him at all? Is he happy that you're doing well in MMA?
Well, he wished me good luck in my adventures here in the business. I don't keep in contact with him so much personally, but there's other guys on the roster that I'm still friends with that I do talk to from time to time, and I still turn on and watch them when they have a big match coming up. So I just I'm still a wrestling fan, so I still turn on the tube and watch all the shows.
Yeah, well, we have to ask about this guy. I think everyone probably has asked you, but. Brock Lesnar, he's a UFC champion. Now, did that influence you at all into getting into MMA, or was it something you wanted to do anyway?
No, it was something that I wanted to do anyway. I was actually training before I went to the WWE. I was training with some of the guys from American Kickboxing Academy down in San Jose. I have a handful of guys that are friends with mine, and before I got into WWE, I was actually training and wrestling around with those guys, kind of learning jiu-jitsu, starting to learn striking. So when the time was right in the WWE, when I had that little time off, I started training again, and just kind of felt that was a good time to, if I was going to do MMA, that would be a good time to do it.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to ever fight Brock Lesnar at some point?
I want to fight everybody.
Right.
No,
Watch
of
out.
course, if you're, I'm a heavyweight, so if you're in the fight business, if you're in the fight game and you're a heavyweight and you don't want to fight Brock Lesnar, then you should go ahead and leave, because right now he's at the top, and if you're not gunning for the guy at the top, then you're in the wrong business. I'm not in the business to just start rolling around and fighting different people and just having a good time, get punched in the face and everything like that. That's not what I'm in there for. I'm in there for, and to be the best you have to.
Jason on the line.
Hi, hello?
Yep.
Hi, Bobby. What was it like working with Vince and Donald Trump at the WrestleMania 23 Battle of the Billionaires?
Oh man, that was a dream come true. I mean, just being in WrestleMania period was an unbelievable experience. But then being in front of 85,000 people, and then on top of that, shaving Vince, that's like one of those matches that are going to go down in history that people are going to talk about forever. I don't want to say it's as big as like Hogan slamming Andre, but it's going to be one of those things that people talk about forever. You know, that whole little spill that we had from the time that me and Umaga had a street fight, to the time where I jumped through the cage, to the time that I shaved Vince McMahon's head, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a part of it, Donald Trump. I mean, it was a dream come true, man. It was an unbelievable experience.
Did that make you feel like the company was really getting behind you? They're giving like a rub from all these different, superstars.
Yeah. But Vince is a smart man when it goes to knowing what's going on in the business. Vince knew, there's people out there that are there, and they're happy that they're there, and then there's people that are there that do everything that they can to make themselves better. And that's what I was doing. I was doing everything that I can to make myself better in the WWE wrestling training, watching videos, talking to some of the veterans, trying to learn how to have better matches and entertain better, and working. So he saw that. So it was kind of his way of showing, giving thanks or showing appreciation that I was actually doing the things necessary to make it to that level. And I was fortunate enough. I mean, you still have to be you have to be in the right place at the right time. And I was at the right place at the right time, but I mean, I worked my butt off, so it was justified.
Mm-hmm. Now, actually, when you left WWE, was that something that went through your head?
All right, that's Bobby Lashley. He's speaking on his time with Donald Trump and Vince McMahon, the whole WrestleMania 23. We know that he was a big part of that billionaire versus billionaire match. He was the one that wrestled for Donald Trump, and when he was even there and helped shave Vince McMahon bald. So he talked about it was a great experience. It was a dream come true. He said he enjoyed every moment of it. WrestleMania itself, and of course that match of Vince and Donald Trump and Stone Cold Steve Austin being there as a special guest referee. So it was a big moment for Bobby Lashley. He enjoyed it, and it was something he cherished. Now, like I said, the interview was back when he was in MMA. I don't think he was in any kind of wrestling at that point, not even TNA. But Bobby Lashley definitely, I'm glad he came back to WWE. I know he's currently out with an injury, but he definitely enjoyed the time with Donald Trump. Like I said, most people, we have interviewed 4 people here. We had Jim Ross on Inside the Ropes. We also had Bret Hart on Inside the Ropes, and Shawn Mooney. And then now we have Bobby Lashley, and everybody has something great to say about him. And not just that, most people speak on Donald Trump at the different times he was in WWE. Bret Hart and Jim Ross talk about the early days, and Shawn Mooney talk about the early days of WWE. And then you have Bobby Lashley, who spoke on him later on at WrestleMania 23 in 2007 in the big billionaire versus billionaire match. And it's pretty much the same reception from everybody. So definitely. I watched WWE, AEW, TNA. That's what's up, Jesse Hood. So you thought Bobby was going to get views? No, I didn't think anything. You thought that. I'm speaking on Bobby Lashley because he was in the match. So get that out of here. That had nothing. That's nothing to do with what he is. So anyway. Yeah, Bobby Lashley speak on the whole thing, and like I said, everybody had a positive reception of Donald Trump. They had something good to say about Donald Trump, and like I said, he had a big influence over WWE, big influence over it, and like I say, he's been there for all the time. He's been there with Hogan. You saw him with the Trump Plaza. They set up WrestleMania. You saw he had everything influence, and then most recently, he's shown with the United States champion, Logan Paul. So Donald Trump definitely did his thing in the wrestling industry. And that's all I have regarding when Donald Trump was at WrestleMania. We're talking about the influence Donald Trump has over WWE, WrestleMania, and the whole thing. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it. Soon two videos will pop up. The Toxic Reign Scandal. Enjoy those 2 videos. You guys already know what it is. It is OUNT.